So he's going to absolutely loathe a statement like that. The royal family did finally break down and release a statement acknowledging the survivors and saying that their sympathies were with them. But according to reports from the Telegraph, that's something that Andrew has avoided for years now.
First of all, just for our British audience, can you explain to us what Congress is asking former Prince Andrew to do?
Yeah, so what they're asking Prince Andrew to do is give testimony before a key U.S. congressional committee. These are members of the House Oversight Committee, and they're urging him to disclose any information he may have about Jeffrey Epstein's activities. I think they're asking for specifics. They want to know exactly what Prince Andrew has seen. They want to know who was there, who was in the room, who might have, who might else be involved. A Democratic rep told the BBC earlier this week that they want Andrew to appear before Congress, probably physically, not via Zoom or anything like that. I think they want him, physically there. They even suggested potentially subpoenaing him, which would be I, a very historical and probably frightening moment for Prince Andrew. But he did acknowledge the difficulty in enforcing that against someone living abroad. And I have spoken to Steve Levine, the author of The Spider, which is a book about Jeffrey Epstein, and he has suggested for months that he doesn't believe that Prince Andrew would risk stepping foot in the United States because there must be so much fear attached to the government trying to grab him and corner him and pressure him into having this type of conversation. So a formal request was sent via a letter asking Andrew to appear. Um, and this, of course, came days after King Charles stripped him of his titles and honors. And the letter was signed by 16 Democratic committee members. While it was sent November 6th, they've requested a response by November the 20th. So we do have a few weeks before we find out what exactly the results of that letter will be.
So Congress is asking for a public appearance. This isn't even a private conversation.
I believe they want it to be public. I'm going to be honest with you. In the United States, we have bigger fish to fry. There are bigger people on our radar that are our public figures that we would rather see in the hot seat. This feels like, and this, I know that I'm not defending Andrew in any way, shape, or form, but what it feels like is that the stripping of the titles, despite Andrew saying he's innocent of all accusations, is an admission of guilt. Okay. And it feels like the American government is taking that and running with it and trying to make an example of him. The American public not feeling any sympathy towards Andrew whatsoever. He's not a very likable character here in the States. Is looking at this going, what about Bill Gates? What about Bill Clinton? Why can't you start at home first? It does seem like they're trying to make an example of him. And I think the American public is not impressed. I think that they would rather than make an example of some of the people that we've platformed ourselves.
That's interesting. So I wonder, I mean, you point out there the chances of this happening is pretty slim anyway, because there's no compulsion for Andrew to appear. He would have to agree to go over. And one would have thought, after what happened, in the very least with the Newsnight interview, that he would realise that that wouldn't be a wise move. So in light of that, is this about posturing from Congress? And is this the reason that they're possibly trying to get Andrew to go at the moment, down to looking at the momentum of he being stripped of his titles and his privileges and thinking actually now is probably our most likely time to get some level of success in their view?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's a good dissection of the situation. Robert Garcia, he is considered the most senior Democrat member of the U.S. congressional panel. He said that rich and powerful men have evaded justice for far too long. And he's using Prince Andrew as an example. He said former Prince Andrew has the opportunity to come clean and provide justice for the survivors. Oversight Democrats will not stop fighting for accountability and transparency for survivors survivors of Epstein and his gang of co-conspirators. But I would stress, we've heard, I believe it was the Telegraph that reported within the last 48 hours or so, that Prince Andrew has removed the reference to survivors multiple times when it came to royal communication surrounding his dealings with Jeffrey Epstein and Virginia Giuffre. So he's going to absolutely loathe a statement like that. The royal family did finally break down and release a statement acknowledging the survivors and saying that their sympathies were with them. But according to reports from the Telegraph, that's something that Andrew has avoided for years now.
You've mentioned that survivors and large swathes of the US public want Congress really to be focusing on figures closer to home. In light of that, where are we with the possible release of the Epstein files?
Well, I mean, I think that our government's shut down right now. We're trying to fly. We're trying to get up in the air. I do think that they have bigger priorities, but you are seeing some of these insiders, some of these incredible journalists that are getting things like Fergie and Andrew's emails to Epstein. I think we're going to continue to see those leaks, absolutely. When it comes to formal documents, I don't think that that's necessarily a priority for this administration at the moment. But there are incredible journalists that are still fighting to get, every inch of those pages out there to us.
And what are the chances of other public figures in the US being called before Congress?
If there's an opportunity, I do think that this committee will take it. If there are prominent names on there, I think that they're going to. But like I said, I think that some misinterpreted the stripping of the titles as some form of admission of guilt, and they thought, let's jump on this and let's take advantage of this opportunity. But I do think that yes, are going to see testimony. We have to see testimony. The way that King Charles stripped Andrew to stop the bleeding in the royal family is something that the U.S. government is going to have to do with the Epstein files. It's something that the Trump administration or the Trump campaign campaigned on to secure that win. And people are angry that they don't have complete transparency when it comes to the Epstein files. And they're going to have to stop the bleeding somehow. They're going to have to be transparent.